we're going to have an amazing roundtable on all things love, healing, truth, and a lot of the things that are happening in the world of relationships today. I want to go around and introduce people and all these amazing people we've got here today. I'm going to go around in the order that they're appearing on our screen. So the first person I've got is my beloved big bro, Coach D. What's up, Coach?
Anyway, no, I'm doing all right. I'm actually really excited for the collab. I had the pleasure of getting to know Ralph and Andy, great, strong gentlemen, and we did an episode. I look forward to getting to know Amanda and Taylor as well, and I want to do something productive, and let's see what kind of magic we can make out of here.
Absolutely. And next we have the amazing Amanda from Girlfriend Guide for Guys. Welcome, Amanda. We're really happy to talk to you today and listen to you. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys letting me be here. I'm familiar with a little bit of everybody's background through watching Andy's channel. So thank you. Thank you.
Amazing. Next, we have Ralph Anthony. How you doing, brother?
Yo, my guy. I'm doing fantastic. It's nice to have a female perspective. So I'm excited to have Amanda in and to ask her some questions.
Absolutely, because there's so much that we can learn. And I think the more broad thing we want to do is like just genuinely listen, like just really listen, and hold space. That's the way. Andy, how are you today?
I am fantastic, sir. I'm excited. I'm ready to go. Pleasure to be here with all of you.
Beautiful. And last but not least, Taylor, how are you?
Hey, I'm really excited to be here with this amazing group of people. And for me, I'm not going to lie, I'm most excited that Amanda's here, because when we're talking about coming together to heal, I'm being honest.
Already got
Robbie.
plenty of those.
Hey, I'm really excited because, like, when we talk about trying to heal the relationships between men and women, like doing that with a bunch of men talking and not including women in that, it almost seems pretty silly, doesn't it? So I'm really glad you're here.
I'm really glad she's here, and I want to. We want to empower as many women and to speak to us and come together as we possibly can. It's amazing. So I'm going to kick us off, and we're going to get into it. So we've all been wounded, men and women alike. We chase love, but don't feel safe in it. Today, let's have a real conversation about self-love, abandonment, and how to finally build secure love together. So I'll start with a little bit of sharing. Most people who have followed me and Andy and Dean will kind of know my journey with this. I got into this after 12 years of trying to find my first girlfriend. Huge amounts of anxiety, huge amounts of insecurity, just guarded, just so many walls. I didn't know about healing. I didn't know about trauma. I didn't know what was going on with me. I just thought I was a weird alien from outer space and thought I was going to live like that for the rest of my days. This amazing man, Andy, had an opportunity for me to learn about myself and relationships, and gave me a bit of a roadmap to discover what was going on with me at a deeper level. I was in a very complex emotional world, and frankly, it took a very long time and a lot of work for me to actually understand the things that were blocking me. Okay. Now, I'm grateful that Andy was talking about love and was talking about letting go and all of these things, right? And I'm just grateful I landed in the right space where these conversations were taking place and we were talking about men and women on the same team. Like, I'm so grateful for that, right? I'm so grateful for the ethics and always leave the girl better off. Andy taught me those things from day one. And it's for that reason I actually was able to look at this logically and sensibly and eventually uncover all the traumas and stuff, right? And that was what was going on with me. It was not that I was broken or there was something wrong with me. It was just a lot of like childhood trauma, stuff like that. So when we're looking at kind of where we are in this space, how I feel is like, why did no one tell me I needed to look at this stuff? Why did no one inform me about trauma? Why was it when I Googled this stuff when I was 18, it was telling me to learn pickup artist lines and telling me to just memorize ways to neg women? Why was that the information I had? Because it put me in a spiral for 12 years. And that's not okay. And I'm grateful for, of course, Andy for being brave and doing the work he does. But more broadly, I feel like this space is just really missing so many pieces of this puzzle. That's how I feel, right? I'd be curious to hear from you, Amanda, and how you kind of align with this. Do you feel like there's some gaps in this space? Do you think we're having the right conversations? We want to hear from you.
Yeah, well, first off, I want to say that I agree. And something I noticed while working with men is that men are not socialized to feel their emotions. So it's interesting when talking to men, they actually lack an emotional vocabulary when it comes to describing their emotions. In comparison to women, maybe they can bring out sadness, grief, and these types of words, but with men, it kind of takes a while to get there. So there definitely is collective trauma, but with that collective healing. And yeah, like the pickup artist stuff, it's so limited, right? It can help get you a girl. It's not to say it's completely futile in its endeavors, but the facts are is that a lot of this stuff goes deeper, in my opinion.
I watched a video from you, Amanda. I thought it was a brilliant video. Me and Andy talked about it, where you said the woman is the tip of the iceberg, right? And what is the actual dysfunction is the deeper pain the person is in. This couldn't be more accurate, right? This is a very powerful thing because it's the narratives, it's the stories, it's the wounds, it's all these things. Like Coach D will often talk about how as males, we are naturally able to attract women when we're whole, when we're healed and intact. To attract women is a very natural thing. And from now, going through all of my journey for how many years, now I don't have this problem anymore because I healed myself and now I don't struggle with it at all. But the journey to get there, if we're not having the right conversations and we don't use the right terminology, how can you solve a problem that you can't even see or understand? How if I have no concept of what the real issues are, then how can I diagnose that and get into the nitty-gritty? Okay. So there is a need for more like trauma-informed perspectives, in my opinion, right? And a need for more like group relational work and men's work, right? So I was in Andy's group program for years. I was in that men's group for years and they told me these things. And then me and Dee have our men's group. And I think this just has to be the way this space goes. Dee, I want to bring you in on when it comes to guiding men and in particular, like the need for men to have that strong inner foundation and what happens to men when they haven't got that strong inner foundation. Because I know you've guided literally hundreds. And I know you've experienced men with inner anger and also just not some great intentions and stuff like that. And I think you've shared with me how that creates a lot of like difficulties in relationship. Talk to us about the importance of a healthy inner world when it comes to relationships.
That's the thing, being in this space as a masculine coach. Before, in my past, I was more of like a kind of a red pill, kind of like a dating coach. And then after that, because I had to go through my toxic masculinity phase too, because when you're entering this space and this world of bitterness, being literally an incel, not getting women, you kind of want to get even in a way. You're going to like, I'm going to learn every kind of neg, every kind of tactic, I'm going to do whatever it takes to, excuse my language, get her in bed and I don't give a shit. And in return, that's going to make you very bitter and very upset because you see, that opens the door to build your social skills. But once you develop that power, you start to manipulate it and you want to take advantage of others. Like, whoa, I'm really confident. I could manipulate people. I could change their emotions and get them to do what I want to do. And, I started to come to peace and to come to terms with myself. Like, listen, it's not only about numbers. It's not only about notch count. It's becoming peace within yourself. That's how you become a strong man. Because I met a lot of guys during my time. They're like, either they're saying like, "Oh, I'm an incel." All of them come from the stem of I don't like women or I hate women. I'm explaining to them is because you don't know how to love yourself and you don't accept yourself. And they try to brag about me. Oh, I got this big notch count. I'm like, dude, so why are you taking coaching with me if you're still broken and hateful? You need to come to realize that love comes within yourself to be at peace with who you are. And you need to found a foundation within yourself. You need to break apart the pieces because, as I said, I met people on the extreme end and I met people who are a little bit peaceful, but most guys are on the extreme end because we were damaged and hurt. We don't have anyone to actually tell us, like, this thing when you grow up, take it like a fucking man. Shut the hell up. I don't want to hear you complain. I don't want to hear you talk. So then what's that going to do? It's just going to build up on the inside as we grow up. And, we're not taught to feel. We're not taught to show our emotions because as men, if you show your emotions, that's considered weak. But in return, you're actually being strong because you're handling your emotions and as men in a positive way. So, I've seen so much like just absolutely like crazy stuff from so many men, just the absolute hate that they have in their soul and the resentment and the anger and just the fact that they have this vendetta against people and women. I'm like, dude, you need to heal. You need to take a step back. And remember, I'm coming here from a holistic perspective and a spiritual perspective saying that I'm going to fix you as long as you don't see people or women as the enemy, as you see somebody to coexist with and to procreate with, to create opportunities and meaningful relationships. But the only way you can create that is that you have to heal yourself from within. And this is why it's such a damaged, jaded community because, men are all over the place, women are all over the place. Nobody wants to come and meet in the middle and talk about the situations that are going on. This is why we're kind of having like a separation going on between both sides, like the war on sexes, women being men and men being women, because there's no equilibrium anymore. Everything is out of whack. So if I could build a time machine, I would, but I can't. So to the 1950s where everything was like more in peace and more understanding. So I feel in today's world, we need to come together, put our ego aside, separate our problems and understand one another as human beings to coexist as one. Through men being masculine, with women respecting us, and then becoming feminine with the energy that we produce as masculine men, and we respect them too. That's the only way you're going to be rewarded from a woman, is that when you come as a trustworthy leader, as a man, she will give you love and peace in return, not as some toxic asshole.
Can I jump in here? And Coach Steve makes a good point. The reason why we're seeing some of these issues in society, look at the content that gets pushed on social media. Extreme content sells. So what we're seeing is when I, on my YouTube, talk about how relationships are difficult and, the modern woman is a nightmare, I get the views because it's like, oh, this is controversial. People want to see this. When I'm talking about love and energy and caring for yourself and meeting someone halfway, everyone's like, nah, this isn't extreme. This isn't watchable. So when you look at the influence, and I'm not saying that I should do extreme content to get the views. Unfortunately, when you look at the landscape, extreme views from certain influencers gets the virality. So people want to see some of the ridiculous shit that's said on both sides. Where look at, for example, the Fresh and Fit podcast, which done so well. Look at, I think one of them is called Whatever or something, where they line girls up and they laugh at them at some ridiculous claims that they make. So the more extreme the content and the viewpoint, the better the content seems to do. What does that mean? That means that content spreads further. And then people, so it's a self-perpetuating cycle of doom, rather than how many people are you seeing online that are actually like spreading love and talking about how masculine and feminine energy should come together. That content doesn't sell because it's not extreme and it's not shocking. So unfortunately, we have to do our best not to chase the fame and sell our souls by going down the extreme viewpoints. Because when I speak to my Instagram strategist, he gives me these titles. I'm like, dude, this is like, okay, I get why this title is going to do well, but I don't want to talk about why the modern woman is useless. It's like, come on. He's like, yeah, but this is going to do well and it's going to get the views. So that's where I think there's a massive issue, in the sense that people want to be entertained in today's world, and they want these extreme titles and the extreme controversial viewpoints. Whereas people like us are just trying to come together and genuinely give good, loving advice. Certainly my pillar is all about how, like, true masculinity and true femininity, when that comes together, we create this beautiful equilibrium. People don't really want to hear that, and it won't really get the views. So I'm doing my best to stay on my purpose and on my path.
Which I appreciate you for personally, Ralph, and I know you've maintained your integrity there. You've been very open about sharing with us what's worked really well in terms of numbers, and then the conflict that you've had within yourself about wanting to align and speak your truth. And I want to bring Andy and Taylor in here, because one of the things I'm grateful for, I didn't have this content when I was in my journey. Yeah, I didn't have all this shit. When I was going through all of my journey, I wasn't reading stuff online at all. Granted, I'm more of a nerdy type of person. I don't use social media. I've never scrolled on Instagram. I've literally never used social media. I don't care for it. I'm a weird person, whatever. Obviously, I'm a performance coach, productivity guy. This stuff doesn't appeal to me. So I didn't have all of this going on. And I'm really grateful that I wasn't like sucked into this sort of stuff, because looking at the online space now, like I was a literal incel, right? Before I even knew what an incel was. Like when I was 18, understanding why can't I get a girlfriend, I was trying to find out what was wrong with me and trying to come up with terms to describe my situation. And I couldn't really understand. And there wasn't this Black Pill forum type of situation back then. So the influences that I had were GLL. So that's the community that me and Andy come from, right? And that was all I really knew. And then when that wasn't really a thing, there was Andy, and that was it. So I hadn't had these things in my mind, which I'm extremely grateful for. And the pickup artist type of stuff that I tried failed miserably. So there was no going back to that. Now, yeah, fair enough. We're appealing to a certain demographic, a certain person out there who's wanting to like really peel back the layers and get to some truths. So Andy and Taylor, I want to hear your perspective too here. Why is it that though so many of us desperately want to find love, and it's a lot of people, why do we find it so hard to feel loved? And why are we turning to the Fresh and Fit podcast? And why are we turning to this? There's not love in those episodes. I haven't exactly watched many, but the clips don't seem very loving to me. Why are we struggling to actually resonate with love? I don't understand this. Can you help us dig into this?
Maybe I'll go first and then I'll throw to Taylor. Because love is so tied up in worthiness, people put conditions on love and they say, I'm only allowed to have love if I'm a good person, if I'm handsome, if I have a lot of money, if I have a Lamborghini. And the human psyche keeps track of its own karmic debt, for want of a better way of phrasing that. The human psyche, the brain loves to cling on to guilt and shame. It just does. And we will guilt and shame ourselves for everything because it's a good survival mechanism. And so we will remember that time we yelled at someone in traffic. We will remember that time when we said something unkind to our partner when we were angry. We will remember that time that we bullied someone in school. And we build up a karmic debt in our own mind, almost like a point system of, I have negative 20,000 karma. I have it's like opening your bank account and there's negative $20,000 of debt there. And we hold on to that. We just do forever until we go in and start to clean that up. And what does cleaning that up look like? Well, it's going through all of that and saying, well, I was doing the best that I could. It's sharing it with other people. It's talking about it. It's saying, hey, I feel like I was a giant prick to that kid in school. What if I email him or text him or whatever 10 years later and say, bro, I'm sorry. And it doesn't matter what he says, but I'm going to go do that. This, by the way, is part of the Alcoholics Anonymous program, the 12-step program. And why that program is so effective at healing basically any vice or addiction or trauma is because it makes you look in the mirror and get really clear about yourself. It literally says, take inventory of your life and all of the things that you feel like you are building up guilt or shame or karmic debt about, go in and clean those up. Take a very fierce moral inventory, is what they say, and go through and heal all of that, except where it would hurt the other person to try and heal that. And in doing so, you start to bring yourself back to some sort of balance of like equilibrium. Like, maybe I'm not a bad person, and no one is a bad person, but our brain tells us that we are, because we have that track record, that filing cabinet full of everything we've ever done to hurt someone else or to hurt ourselves. And so I think it's worth saying 98, I made that number up, but 98% of the human race doesn't believe that they are good people. They will pretend that they are. They will point at other people and say, that's a bad person and I'm not them. That person is literally Hitler. But in doing that and pointing the finger, that's just one more thing to build up some karmic debt over. It doesn't feel good. You know, to point at someone else and judge them doesn't feel good. You're actually judging yourself. And so feeling all of that collective burden of guilt and shame and fear and doubt that the human race carries around with itself permanently until we get in there and clean it up. Yeah, no fucking shit that they don't feel like they deserve love. No fucking shit that when I do a video saying, hey, all of you deserve love, you're all great people. And when Amanda does the same thing, which is most of her channel, by the way, the vast majority of people will watch that and be like, no, Amanda, you're stupid. You're actually an idiot. You don't know that I yelled at that kid when I was in school. You don't know that I said that unkind word. You don't know what's in my head. And it's like, no, here's the kicker, guys and girls. Amanda does know that because she has that same brain as any of you. I know that. And when we sit there and say that you deserve love, we aren't just saying some bullshit. When, you know, Jesus from the Christian Bible says you deserve forgiveness. When Krishna and Buddha and all of these people say the same thing, you're all beautiful, you're lovable, unconditional love as you are right now. You don't need to change. It's okay. They say that knowing the full weight of all of the stuff that you have done in your life and all of the karmic debt you might have built up and all of the guilt and the shame and the fear and all of that. And they love you anyway. And they're trying to help you do the same thing. And that is the point of my channel. That is what Taylor, this is the mission of everyone here. It's what everyone here is trying to do, is to say you are lovable right now. And there are some things you feel bad about, guilty about, ashamed of, all of that. That's fine. Yeah, welcome to the club. I still have a lot of fucking shame and guilt and fear. That's just a human thing. That's what our brains do. But you're lovable anyway. And you might not know how to talk to women. That's okay. You can just learn that. You might not know how to love yourself. That's okay. You can figure that out. You might not know how to make friends. That's okay. It's not that difficult. You might be scared. That's fine. And so you say, like, you know, why do people run away from love? Guilt, brother. Guilt. Like, it's as simple as that. It's guilt. And so part of what we do is we get in there and we say, it's okay that you watch Fresh and Fit and you laugh whenever they own a woman. It's okay that you go outside and be like, fuck these bitches. Like, that's okay. We're not going to encourage that, but that's okay. I did the same thing. I think all of us did. Amanda's probably gone through some shit where she fucking hated men, probably hated herself. Like, we've all gone through that. And so part of this journey is like bringing all of that muck or all of the dirt out into the light. And part of, you know, Buddhism, one of my favorite philosophies, is their symbol is the lotus flower. That is sort of the symbol of Buddhism. The reason why is the lotus flower grows out of the swamp, out of the muck and all of that. It pushes up slowly over time until it reaches, you know, the top of the water and it hits the light. Like, that is humanity. We have muck. That doesn't mean we're bad for having muck, but it's true. It is the statement, the most true statement I could make is that we all carry around collective guilt, shame, suffering, pain, hatred towards ourselves and other people. So part of how we move towards the connection that we want between each other and with ourselves is love, and starting to talk about that collective guilt. We don't have to just get rid of it. I think that's what people try and do. Self-medicate it away, go and get laid a lot, you know, follow pickup artists and just smash a bunch of pussy and then, yay, I'll feel better. Or women do the same thing with men. But it's talking about this shit. And so I love that we're having these conversations. And I guess I'd love to throw to you, Mr. Taylor, after that TED talk. Now it's your turn. No pressure.
Thanks. Yeah, to dovetail with what Andy said, like on a deep level, you know, you spoke to some of the woundedness, some of the guilt, some of the things we all feel inside. We all have these things, right? And in the beginning, these things all seem like a huge problem that we have to solve. And that's, in some ways, why we're coming here together, is to solve that problem. And Ravi, you use the word incel, you know, that is like a term that describes this woundedness as a problem, right? Involuntary celibate. we all actually started out as incels, right? Like every single human, like as soon as you went through puberty and you became horny, in that very moment you became an incel. You were like, I think having sex would be nice. Oh, there's no one here to have sex with. Boom, you're an incel. Do you get it? So there's a lot of things. That's one thing, but like there's a lot of things like that, like Andy was speaking to. There's a lot of things that we happened and we said are bad, and like they seem like these huge problems we have to solve. But what if they're actually there for us to learn and for us to heal? And we can actually learn to be grateful for those things. Like, I'm so grateful to be here with you all talking about this, you know? This is all like, those things are happening for us, not to us. Like, they're happening so that we can learn to heal. And Ravi, you asked, like, you know, why are we on this journey? Why are we all seeking love? Like, we all have those like parts of us inside that you might be tempted to call broken. And we're all, whether we know it or not, trying to learn how to love ourselves and how to love other people more. So everyone has these things inside of them. And so we're always looking to sort of connect with other people and connect with that love in ourselves and in other people. And everyone has like masculine and feminine energy inside of them. And so like the yin and the yang symbol, they're always kind of seeking each other. And like, why are they seeking each other? They're seeking because being intimate with another person helps you be intimate with yourself. It helps show you your own love. Like loving another person helps you see your own love. So.
Oh, that's beautiful. You're good at this, Taylor. I like that. Yeah, that's powerful. I enjoyed that. Let's talk about attachment wounds, because I'm very curious about this subject. And Amanda, you talk a lot about this on your channel. I want to dive into how abandonment, anxiousness, and avoidance shows up in our relationships and how we relate. And I want to explore how we break this cycle. So I suppose, Amanda, how does anxious attachment show up for women, in your opinion?
I think probably the same way that it does for men. I would need, maybe a more specific example for the question, if that makes sense.
Sure. So let's talk about the example of perhaps some of the folks who may be commenting on your videos. So, for example, guys who've went out there, who've perhaps tried and who've perhaps have maybe not had so favorable experiences for a multitude of reasons, but who now carry a bit more weight when it comes to the opposite sex, to where they're a little bit more guarded. And I can give my own example, because I think I had this really bad. I just really checked out and just wasn't emotionally ready to be vulnerable at all. Like, I just really couldn't do it, right? And I know there's a lot of men like that. Being in this space for quite a long time, it's a lot of us, and we go through this cycle of a lot of like casual sex and stuff like this, and then we start to question, okay, well, why is this not going deeper? What's really going on here? So some of us start to become aware of these attachment styles. So I suppose it'd be curious to get your perspective, and maybe if this is something you can relate to yourself. Have you noticed these patterns in you? And would you be open to sharing perhaps some of your own relational challenges in relation to some of your wounds? Because I know you've talked a lot on your channel on this about abandonment and so on, and you've got some really cool insight there, which would be very open to hearing.
Yes. I think when you really want to abandon your own trauma and your own kind of loneliness, it can be really hard to not take that opportunity for connection and just like grab at it and just like run towards it. Like, I need this really, really bad, because you're trying to escape the suffering in the present moment, if that makes sense. So I think that sometimes we have an anxious attachment part that likes to kind of run the show for us, that likes to maybe double text or check the phone or, you know, just seek outside validation. And I think that takes time to heal. And that comes from a place of fear, because you're really wanting to connect with the person, but due to past experiences, it seems like 1 in a million. It's kind of like telling a starving child to not eat that burger that's right in front of them, if that makes sense.
Great. Yeah. I'm just reacting a little bit because I had this so badly myself. I remember it. Coach, perhaps you might be one to speak on here, because I know you talk about emptiness and how, Coach, in your like legendary journey, in your, you know, conquests and all the stuff that you went through at the end, before you found your beautiful wife, and kind of have now shifted a lot of your perspectives. You talked about how for you it was a lot of numbness that you began to experience, and I think there's other men who can probably relate, and probably women alike, who could probably relate to these types of wounds where there's a void and emptiness. Can you talk to us about that? And can you talk to us about how you broke the cycle and how you help men such as myself break that cycle too?
Yeah, one thing back in my day, you kind of become like a machine. You numb yourself so hard, it becomes systematic. It's just like, go out, another girl, get laid. Go out, another girl, get laid. Oh, she's acting like this, I'm gonna act like that. Oh, this one's acting like this. It becomes such a systematic value. You completely like eradicate any human emotion in yourself. Because I was literally like a machine, like a robot, just one after the other, all the time, every time, you know, devouring myself in just so much indulgence. It became toxic just for me to avoid any kind of self-accountability within myself. And then eventually you reach a point in your life where you just kind of feel like a void. You feel soulless. You feel empty. And, you know, this is why when I get so many clients, they're like, yo, coach, yo, Unc, I got like a 50 or like 100 plus notch count. Like, why am I still feeling so sad, so empty? Is because you haven't found your purpose. So this is one thing I'm going to say. It's a little bit controversial. As men, you're supposed to have a conquest. Why? Hear me out. You're supposed to have a conquest because you need to know the experience of how to treat women and how to be around women. You know, I believe within myself as a masculine man, a woman is going to want a leader. And in order for you to become a leader, you need to share and have your experience with women. But don't get wrapped up in that power. Because once you become a tyrant, you will know how to lead. You'll become self-harming yourself and self-inflicting these wounds. You need to become at peace within your core. So when I was going through my relentless machine phase, I was realizing like, oh my God, I'm on repetition. I'm on autopilot. I'm just like these guys I talk about not to be about. And now I'm one of them myself. Empty, hating, you know, on others, just complete dark. It was a very dark world, and no amount of women I've been with or whatever I've gotten in life gave me like sleepless nights, you know, until I realized like I need to hear from within. And this is why I shifted my direction in my, you know, in my coaching and changing myself, helping you, Ravi, and helping many others, is that, as I said, women are not the enemy. You are not the enemy. What is going on with life, you are in control with how you feel. And you must mend those wounds and understand that you are gifted the power within your masculinity. And with great power comes great responsibility. Nerd moment, Spider-Man. That you need to control your destiny as a man and shape it. And if you want to find your partner, she's going to have to trust your leadership. And being numb comes at a price to pay. As much as I am very empathetic and open with others, it is very hard for me myself to speak or to be emotional, even though that sounds unrealistic because you hear me speaking now so fluently, is because there's a difference. I'm going to tell you guys right now, I trained myself. You see what I'm saying? Oh, crap. I think Taylor just dropped out.
He'll come back.
He'll come back on the link. All right. So I trained myself to numb my emotion. You see, I trained my brain. I trained to speak. But I'm still working on healing my core and healing whom I am. And healing myself to feel. And this is what I'm trying to do to help others. That it's like, imagine you get ghosted so much, you get treated bad, whatever it is, you go on bad dates. And this goes for women too. They have shitty relationships with men. They meet the fuckboy. They get played left and right. We both become toxic. And then guess what happens? We start to slowly push away from feeling. And then you become ice. And when you become ice, it is very, hear me out, very, very, very hard to bring back that human essence within your core. And I'm struggling now till this day, even though I'm happy I found my partner. You know, I was able to get out the power of my conquest. I'm more spiritual now. I'm building a business. I lost myself in that process. And it's going to be a lifelong journey. And that's why I tell a lot of men that becoming numb has its consequences and its reward, but very big consequences. You're going to become stronger than ever. You're going to be able to leave at the cost of you losing how to feel, losing how to heal, losing out on how to love. And that's what makes you human. And I'm slowly starting to bring that back. It's just like we've been so programmed to nowadays when, you know, I'm going to comment on what my brother Ralph said. You got all this extreme content on, you know, Fresh and Fit and all this. Who the fuck wants to listen about healing and love? It's just like, yo, man, how many bitches you fuck? Yeah, red pill, let's go. And it's just like a lot of crazy stuff. Like, oh, what's your matches? OnlyFans. And I'm just seeing like, it's such a brain rot dopamine society we live in of toxicity. Nobody's like everybody I talk to has like fucking an ass for a brain. They just can't like, what's the next fucking dopamine here? And I'm just like, dude, where are you at? And it's the same thing, you know, I'm seeing with like girls just like scrolling through TikTok, a bunch of fucking nonsense and getting like brainwashed for it. It's like I believe that we lost our ways as humans. Yeah. That, you know, we see emotion and feeling as something negative. So to end my rant, of course, is that as a man, once you hit a steady point within your conquest, figuring out who you are, you must be willing to heal and you must be willing to let go and turn that power into positivity and into love. Otherwise, you will take this conquest to your grave alone. Be willing to open and be willing to allow somebody in to help you heal along the way.
That's really powerful that you shared that, Coach. And I want to thank you for your vulnerability and being so open and sharing that. Thank you sincerely for doing that. Because Coach is an underground guy for many years. To be clear, this is one of the greatest like game coaches ever. One of the most prolific, one of the most respected authorities in seduction. And why I really admire Coach, he completed the journey. He's in a healthy, happy marriage. And he's clear that the way that we should be thinking is towards relationships. He's clear about the scars the journey placed on him. The getting to his level of elite level. Again, there's only about a few people in the world who've done this. I know a few of them, and they're all interesting psyches. But Coach is the one that's still got married. Many of the guys didn't. And as he got married, I saw how he changed as a person because I've known him for years. And our relationship got better. And I saw other sides of him. And I saw healing. And I saw expansion in his thinking. And I saw a desire to genuinely help heal and support others. And frankly, I saw more love. And the first time I ever met him, it was a very different D. It was a very, very different D back in the day. So this is the beauty of relationships. And this is why it's so sacred. And this is why it is worth fighting for. Even if we are now weird guys who are a smaller audience and people want to be negative, this is the most powerful thing in life. Healthy, happy relationships can do so much for us. They can do so much for us as people. In terms of our happiness, our groundedness, our level of peace, our ability to contribute towards another person and think about other people. Yeah, a big thing with me is that my disagreements with like the broader, space was I don't like selfishness. I think we should be contributing to other people. I'm a big community person and I really believe in thinking about other people. Endlessly chasing our own pleasure, I can't align with that. I like to solve problems. I like to see healing in others. I like to see development and building. That's I call myself a human potential coach. It's important for me. So if our society right now is in a frail place when it comes to connection, and it's evident in some of the content that people consume en masse, then I think a question then becomes of like, how do we build a more connected society? How do we actually, well, I'd like us to actually comment on that. Before we get into that, I think the thing I'd like to explore is like the disconnected society we live in. Like, I want to bring you guys in because again, I'm not a social media guy. I'm just running my companies and really doing the work with people every day, with real humans, right? But what I do see is a society where we're isolated, we're alone. How do we meet people? How do we form these relationships? How do we really connect in this increasingly disconnected global world where everything's gone remote? There's been changes sociologically that I've seen that I think are very interesting and kind of bear talking about. I want to bring Ralph in, and I want Ralph you to share your perspective on some of the social changes you've seen. Because why I want to bring Ralph in on this is Ralph's been traveling the world for 10 plus years. Ralph's seen a lot in terms of like the social animal, and I think Ralph's just one of the most socially adept, attuned people I've ever met. So when I first met him, we talked about our ideas and dating relationships. He understood it really well. So Ralph, talk to us about how our current society like really looks and feels from a social perspective. Like now we've got social media. You remember the days before that. Can you kind of comment on some of the changes that you've seen?
I literally did a video about this today on my YouTube.
Yeah, I saw it, yeah.
Everyone I sit with now is struggling in their relationships. It's so weird. I don't have a good reference point. There's not someone I can look at and say, wow, those two are having an amazing relationship. They're a really good example. We're seeing all the stuff that isn't working, unfortunately. There are 3 reasons, and I gave that in my YouTube video today. The first reason, as we all know, is the plethora of options you now have. Dating apps, swiping, communication with on 20 different messaging apps. Any man can message you at any time. With all this technology comes a knock-on effect and comes a downside. Having all those options, again, I was sitting on the dinner table last night with a few friends of mine. One of them's like, yeah, so she pissed me off and then I was just out with someone else the next day. That's just what you just hear on such a regular basis now. Options is a problem. The second thing is people are not willing to sacrifice or compromise anymore. It's all about me, me, me. We've got a very weird narcissistic society now. Everyone's very much about like my life, my happiness. And if I'm not happy with you, I'm going to leave. There isn't this compromise like, okay, you know what? I messed up and I want to fix this with you because you're amazing. Rather than, hold on, right, you messed up. I've got so many other options. I can just move on and find someone else. So this is causing massive issues. The third thing, funnily enough, is because of all this independence and freedom that we all now want, it's more fun to go to Thailand without your girlfriend than it is to go with your girlfriend. That's a lot of the new talk that I'm hearing. Like, oh, bro, I just want to be free. But hold on, aren't you getting the same levels of freedom from your missus? Is she not allowing you to kind of go out with the boys? And the people are as jealous as they've ever been, or they're like, no, you can't go to, some of the things you'll hear is my girl wants to go to Miami with her girlies on a bachelorette. Now, what would the fresh and fit or the black or the red pillars or the black pillars say to that? Like, don't let her go there. Don't let her go to Miami. She's going to cheat on you. And then they have an argument about him not letting her go to Miami. And then she breaks up with him. And then she goes to Miami and she meets someone else. So it's why has everything become so transactional in today's world? Why is it all just like, I need to make myself feel good. I want the attention. And this one person here is just not really doing it for me. And I can easily just walk away and I want my independence and I want my freedom and I'll have my options. So with the influx of technology now and all these new apps that we've got, there's Taylor gone again. It makes it difficult to stick to one. It makes it difficult to stick to one person. It was much easier when you were in the village. She was, the only girl within the same age group. You were the only able man. And it made things a bit easier at that time. It was like, okay, well, we'll stick together. And if we break off, we don't really have many other choices. So we have to make this work, right? Do you realize the importance of we have to make this work? Yeah. That is a beautiful thing. And the only reference point I have was a couple of weeks ago. I was away, and a friend of mine said to me, "I love my wife, and we said that no matter what, we will get over any humps and any obstacles in the road, as long as we have that love for each other, which they seem to have." They said that they would be able to get over any obstacles. Now, I said to him that the love that he had with that woman was very rare. So everything we've talked about in the past 45 minutes about loving yourself, being comfortable, and being able to offer that to someone else, if that can be strong enough and if the connection can be strong enough with that person, then yes, you will be able to get over the obstacles and the difficulties. But because most people just don't have that ability to do so, then they'll move on to the other options by swiping on Bumble and Tinder and Hinge. Then they'll just say, "Oh, I'm trapped in this relationship. I feel trapped." How many times have you heard people say they feel trapped in a relationship? And so they just want to break free and have their freedoms. So modern society isn't conducive to a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
Can I piggyback off that a little?
I was going to bring you in, Andy. Yeah, please go.
Perfect. So I love everything you just said there, Ralph. So piggybacking off what you were saying, a lot of the disconnect that there might be in society is probably because of the obsessive focus on the self and the focus on the ego. And so, Ralph, you said, why has a lot of society become so transactional between two people, men and women or business or whatever? Ultimately, because the ego, and we all have an ego. I have an ego, you have an ego. The ego ultimately just wants to win and it wants to be right, and it doesn't really care what has to happen for that to come true. That's why you see things like Hitler, and people will just do crazy shit so they can say that they are right. And they don't care if other people win. And so you sort of said, or I think maybe Ravi said, how do we build a society that adds to the life of other people? By focusing instead of, I'm going to win at all costs. You say, I want to win, but how can I also make sure this person wins? I want to be happy. How can I make sure they're happy as well? Part of that you could call like libertarianism or like the non-aggression principle. But basically, instead of seeing things as a zero-sum game, which basically just means one person has to win at the cost of the other person. So one person will win, the other person will lose, which is how most people see everything. They see like business is absolutely, the boss is fucking over the employees. The rich CEO must be using people. Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk are not rich because they give value. They're rich because they're using people. Like that's just how people see business, like most people. They will also see women and men or just any sexual relationship or intimate relationship like that. It's why if you say to people, hey, my wife does all the cooking at home and I earn all the money and we're so happy and in love, people will go, that's misogynistic. Why do you make your woman stay at home and do all the cooking? Or, well, that's unfair, bro. Why do you have to slave away while she gets to stay at home with the kids? They will automatically assume that in any interaction between two people, one of them must be winning and one of them must be losing. This comes out in very extreme forms like socialism, Marxism, and all of that, which literally posits that there is always a power dynamic in every interaction between two people, which is just not true. But this also comes out in terms of like the battle of the sexes. Like if a man is having sex with a woman, he must have used her. Or sometimes it will go the opposite. And you'll see that in like feminine empowerment. Like she must be using the men because she's having lots of sex. Or simping and OnlyFans must be that she's exploiting all the men. Like people love to look at things, or the ego loves to look at things in terms of a power dynamic, and one person is winning and one is not. But what I say and what I put forward, and I think what we're all trying to do here, is putting out what you might call a positive sum game. And so, Coach D, you talked before about like, men might want to go out there and have the big conquest. I would say with every woman that you meet while you do that, try and add to her life as well. Make sure you ask it. And D, you're already doing that. Coach, you're already doing that. But I'm saying for anyone else who's listening. And so, Ravi, you said, I don't really like selfishness. I don't stand by endlessly chasing pleasure just for its own sake. Yeah, I agree. But you can have all the pleasure, all the growth, all the self-improvement, all the abundance, sex, money, whatever you might want, and allow the people that you're doing that with to have all of their pleasure and growth and learning and love and all of that too. And I'll leave all of you with a quote before I throw to one of the rest, someone else. Mother Teresa quote that I try and live my life by. Spread love wherever you go. Let nobody come to you without leaving a little better off.
Powerful. Beautiful. Unless anyone else wants to comment, does anyone want to chime in on this?
Yeah, I'll just throw something minor. Thank you, Ralph and Andy, for your perspectives. And I do agree with both. We live in a transactional society. And I've seen it with my boys and like my group and like also my clients. She's like, this date was not good. I could just go on Tinder and get like 100 more. You got literally Tinder, Bumble, IG, Hinge. What's that? Like I've seen guys profile where they have like 500 to 1,000 matches. So when you have this unlimited amount of options for women and for men, you're going to start to become narcissistic and think that you're more high value than what you really are for yourself. And I had guys that had big ass fucking egos, and I had to give them a reality check like, dude, these are literally just matches on a fucking screen. You need to come to reality and understand that you're not some big shot. Same thing for women. They'll just when they're just tired of, oh, this guy doesn't meet my height requirement. Next. I don't like his nose. Next. Oh, he don't have the hair. Next. Oh, he bald. Next. So it's just like we forgot how to like respect people for their internal value. We just see everything at first glance within the first 10 seconds. It's literally like yes or no. And I do like what Andy said as well in terms of the ego. Even I have an ego myself. I have a very stubborn warrior mindset. It's more like, yo, do or die, go fucking battle. I don't want to hear it, which is kind of good and bad because it gets shit done. But at the same time, I need to understand the other person's walk of life. And that's the thing. We built such a high defense mechanism nowadays in today's society. We're not willing to listen to others. So we need to learn how to come together as a whole and as a team now. That's been lost is what I'm seeing in today's world.
Yeah. And that's the ethos that we want to embody in the Breakthrough Collective. And it is about understanding that this battle of the sexes is just keeping us disconnected, and a disconnected world benefits none of us. Absolutely none of us. Yeah. All my best work, the transformation of my life, came from the love and appreciation of other human beings who came into my life. Hundreds of people who cared about me, who pushed me, who supported me, which includes Andy, which includes Taylor, which includes Ralph, which includes you, D. Yeah. This is how powerful we are when we're there for each other, when we're thinking about each other. I live my values every single day. I've endlessly put years into supporting communities, and I see how everyone's life ignites. Men and women can be incredible allies, most powerful allies. Yeah. And for us to do that, then we need to understand each other's experience a lot more. So I want us to kind of shift gears now and kind of explore what men and women misunderstand about each other emotionally and how we can bridge the gap. So, Amanda, some of the videos that I've seen from you recently really helped. They're really very evocative in some of the ways you communicate. So one of the examples was you talked about in one of your videos how when a man sees a woman, they assume because we have a different body and a different form, that we must have an entirely different emotional experience in this world. But you said that we, in fact, are both human and we have the same mind. That was powerful. That really hit. That really hit. So I'd like us to talk more about what you think men and women, what all of us think men and women don't understand about our experiences. Amanda, perhaps you could share more on this.
Yes. I think that, it goes back to men and women tend to have a different vocabulary to kind of describe their emotional experiences. And right, like just because, people don't look like what they've been through. So you can't tell what a person has been through on their exterior, which I think is really powerful. And I think that sometimes men and women maybe have a hard time connecting with each other because there is this, powerful weapon of armor that we kind of each have on at the very beginning. And also just to chime in about a previous thing too, is that I also find on the flip side of there being many options, I find there being actually scarce options too. And because we live in such a disconnected day and age, I find that it's no longer normalized for people to connect or meet each other anymore. So you kind of really have to go out of your way to create a sense of social community. And one more thing for Coach D, I actually wanted to commend you for sharing your story with a corn addiction in the past. I'm planning on doing a video on this, so I really hope that you guys give me credit for this quote because I haven't shared it yet. But I do. This is my quote, just to be fair. But I do find that in today's society, kids, like teenagers, young adults, spend more time watching porn than they do developing a proper relationship with their parents. So I was just curious what you guys thought about that.
Yeah, that's epic. That is really interesting. We're going to dive all the way into that. Andy, do you want to riff on that?
Sure. I was the guy. I love that you throw it at me. Of course you did. Like we all know.
Sorry, buddy.
Yeah, No. Perfect. So are you comfortable with me saying the word? Like you don't care about monetization? Okay. I used to look at porn for like 8 hours a day. Like quite literally, I would have it on in the background, like maybe a woman moaning. It didn't really matter what it was. I just needed it. Almost like, I mean, Amanda, okay, let's just go deep into the Freudian psychology right here. You could say that was me like not wanting to let go of mum's tit. Like that was me like sucking on mum's teat. I needed some sort of female connection or something because my mother was there for me. She was a lovely human being, incredible. And my father tried his best to be, just wasn't able to do that. But Amanda, my God, your quote, I would literally shy away from my parents in any attempt at them trying to connect with me. And I would go into my room. And at first it started with just pictures because we had dial-up internet and, you know, there wasn't much happening there. Video games, if I got even a glimpse of some sort of pixelated image of a woman, like that would be it. And then when we got high-speed broadband, yeah, that was when the heroin just started kicking in. It's like, okay, I can't control this. And my parents knew many times and they tried to have many, many, many interventions. At one point, we had a big fight and they literally physically grabbed my PC, ripped it out of the wall and broke half of it, like yanked it out, took it into the living room, shoved it down on the table. And they're like, you're only allowed it in here. And of course, I used every tactic and technique that I could. And I eventually got my way and got it back into my room. And I remember like probably 50 conversations that we had where they were like, we think you have an addiction. We'd like you to speak to someone. And of course, that didn't go well. And I avoided that. But yeah, like you want to talk about connection. And for me, I also missed out on the connection with my fellow youth. Sound like a boomer there. I didn't connect to the youth, Amanda, but I just had friends that would invite me to parties and I'd be like, no, I can't. I need to go and look at porn, or I need to play my video games, or I need to isolate in my room. And my parents tried so many interventions so many times. And it wasn't until all the depression came out and I was arrested and I went to prison for something, you know, separate. But all of that came out. And then it's like, okay, like, yeah, maybe I need to, and I had other addictions, but maybe I need to work through these addictions to porn, alcohol. Oh my God, did I drink every single day like you could not imagine? Anime, video games, self-hatred, just any addiction that you could possibly invent, I was addicted to. And all of that was escapism. It was running from the fact that I felt like I didn't have daddy's love. I felt like I didn't know how to connect to my fellow, you know, kids and friends and all of that. So I think the internet is the perfect heroin. Like it's just the Matrix. Like I think the internet is the Matrix at this point. Video games, anime, porn. You can now even get love and connection through OnlyFans or a false version of it, a pretend version of it that doesn't quite scratch the itch. And ladies and gentlemen, ready for the best quote that I've ever heard in my entire life. This comes from my best friend Timor, so shout out to him. When it comes to the internet, when it comes to porn, when it comes to addiction, you can never quite get enough of something that almost satisfies.
Oh, that's hard. Shout out to Timor, the wizard, the wise Aussie bloke. Yes. I'm gonna comment on this because this is a subject matter that really hits. Alrighty, so look, Amanda, you commented on that. You stated there that we can't often, by looking at someone's external experience, understand what they've went through. So you're talking to the incel final boss. Would you have guessed that? Would you have guessed that, Amanda? Literally. Like my log was when I was on all the internet, like over 1 million of these incels read my log. Okay. Of this,
I can confirm, as his coach for like 2 years, I can confirm this is the incel final boss.
Final boss. Yeah. So it's supposed to be impossible for a guy like me. It's supposed to be literally impossible for me to get. And Andy, how many times did I insist? You don't understand, Andy. I've done 10,000 approaches. You don't understand, Andy. have done every dating app in the world, and I've never received a text. And then, I mean, the story's pretty crazy. I think after 2 days of your coaching, I lost my virginity. Yeah. And then, you know, obviously within that year of your program, I went on 100 dates. And listen, I've went on, and, you know, it was bullshit. But, you know, what's interesting, if you look at the Incel Final Boss, and I can say that by laughing now, it's so ridiculous. I've lived an incredible, insane life. My life is so good. Yeah. So I can laugh at it now. Why sometimes I think about this is like, when I'll be in New York in a few weeks, yeah, in Manhattan, just having an abundant life with my business partner, Coach D. We'll be doing all sorts of stuff, making incredible content, yeah. And then I'll be coming, and I've been around the whole world. I've lived in great life. I'm very grateful. And when I think about the person I used to be, and I think about how did I end up like that? How did I get to be like that? Yeah. It starts in childhood. Yeah. It starts with your dysfunctional parents. You model your relational ability from your parents. Yeah. And I had like a very strange childhood, and I didn't know this. And I didn't even speak to anyone. The first time I ever felt safe to even verbalize this, that I have these problems with Andy. I didn't trust anyone else to have a conversation with. And when I look at like how I became that way, it was because I didn't have examples of healthy relational behaviors growing up. I absorbed dysfunctional patterns of how to deal with emotions, of how to respond to the world. I was living in chronic stress from single-digit childhood. Yeah, in frankly an abusive kind of situation, where, you know, I've got an incredible mother. She's a sincerely beautiful human being, and that's why I'm not a criminal or a delinquent of some sort, because she always pushed me and made me develop an incredible work ethic. And, you know, someone's loved this a lot for you. I still achieved despite, you know, my dad was abusive, and really destabilized me psychologically. He was a rageaholic. He was just an insane person. Now, of course, he has his other qualities. I mean, he provided, and you know, I mean, financially did well and stuff like that. But the level of rage he existed in every single day, and how we lived, and that was a guy who was under his own trauma. That he lost his dad early, and he idolized his dad. His dad was, my granddad was a very exceptional man, very intelligent guy, very successful, fucking incredible. And when my dad couldn't handle it, and he was fucking destroyed for 10 years, and none of us knew what trauma is. None of us knew, like, so it was a mess. Now, of course, I've healed myself. I have great relationships with my entire family. And I've gotten on, but that's why I couldn't relate to people. That's why I never felt safe with people. I had extreme anxiety from single-digit age, so bad that I just developed dysfunctional ways of interacting with people. I'd find safe people and just try to be around them and like use them as like my way of navigating reality. And that was the pattern I was in, and that's why I had all these like behaviors, and I didn't learn how to properly socialize and all that shit. And fortunately, I'm quite intelligent, so I was still able to do well in school and go to like a relatively elite university and like mask all this shit. But that's what fucks people. Bad childhood development, not seeing proper relationships, and you're left with this enormous amount of stuff to resolve. And I went to the wrong places. I went to pickup artist boot camps, and I went to all this crap, and I never got anywhere. Because when your problem is your pain and your dysfunctional way of relating to other humans, and your internally suppressed anger, then what you really need is to feel safe and be finally safe enough that you can rebuild yourself the right way. Look, I never had a porn addiction, but I was watching it when I was around 17, 18, and it didn't help. It made me more anxious. It made me more like weird around women. And I could see that around 20, and I did like nofap. And I did it for years, like didn't watch pornography and masturbate for years. I thought that would help me, but I was still such a wreck, you know, it can only take you so far. But all of these dysfunctions happen to people when
they're not healthy. When you're not emotionally and psychologically healthy. And that's the problem. And that's how complex this is. And my passion for this is significant because it shouldn't have taken me 12 years to find a compassionate person such as Andy who'd sit and listen. It shouldn't have taken that long. And it shouldn't have taken me that long to be able to open up to a guy like D and really start to talk about childhood and talk about some of the things that it shouldn't have taken this long. So if we're going to start to end this battle of the sexes and understand what keeps us disconnected, we have to talk about what the real issues are. And they start from childhood. And they start with, we don't understand relationships and how to build them very well. And that's the thing that needs to change, more connectivity. So that's just me sharing my truth, right? I appreciate that was me unloading a whole lot. I just want to check in and see how that lands with people. Do you guys see where I'm coming from? Yeah. And I guess the other side of this is, of course, all of that was challenging. It's rewarding for people to understand that, look, I'm a guy who had all those challenges. I've dated hundreds of women, hundreds. Whilst I'm not like on the journey of like really focusing on dating anymore, I'm looking for something serious in a relationship. I really don't have these types of challenges anymore. Like, I've done all this shit. It was fixable. It was fixable. It's just I didn't know how. And it was fixable when I was finally shown love by this Aussie guy over here and all the people he put around me. Yeah, Cam, another great guy. These guys sincerely just, and more people, Pancake Mouse, all these guys, they just wouldn't give up on me. They just endlessly supported me. I've never had people love me like that. From my background, I never had it. And these people cared about me so much that I changed. And it took a whole community. It took all these people, just ceaseless, endless, passionate support every day. No matter how many times I had mental breakdowns, no matter how many times I said, it's fucking over for me, you don't understand, I'm ugly, I'm this, I will never find someone. This, I always get ghosted. Just patience, consideration. What a testament to the communities that we've had to build these, Andy, right? But that there is this help out here, because that's really what we need to resolve this. Now, to kind of like frame the next discussion that I want to have is that relationships are reflective, that the challenges that we're having are because of us. They are because of us. It's not women, it's not men, it's us. It is us and our wounds and our dysfunction. Men and women are not enemies. They are not the enemy. We're just reflections of each other's wounds, and that is all it is. And when you do the deeper work on yourself, then all this comes together. Until then, we're just a mirror and we're just a reflection. So really the discussion now is about building self-love and secure love at that. My question for the panel is, because I'm on this journey still, right? Still working on myself and all that. But I'm very happy to be where I am today. Very happy to be where I am today. Best place I've been in my life. So the question for you all is, what does secure love actually feel like? And how do we start creating it from within? Anyone want to comment?
Taylor, off you go.
Go on, Taylor. Take us in. What you got for us?
All right, I've been called out. Yeah, really shortly and succinctly, secure love comes from you. Like you touched on how we think it comes from the other person. We're looking for the other person. We're looking to get validation. We're looking to get security from the other person. But that actually starts with you. And you can have a deep love for someone and be very secure in that love. And it doesn't even require them. So just notice that. Like you can have very, very secure, pure love for another human. And it can all just be you to you. Like it can be within yourself. So that's very empowering to me to know that I can I'm in control of that.
Yeah.
And to kind of touch on a thread that wound through this whole discussion, Ralph, you mentioned how the more polarizing social media stuff is very juicy and nice to click on, and a lot of people want to click on it. And we also talked about porn. I'm someone who was very addicted to porn for a long time here too, and it's a lot more, I would say it's like the low-hanging fruit. It's a lot easier to grab those things. It's a lot easier to click the little TikTok of someone being angry at someone else and like other teaming them. And it's a lot easier to numb yourself with porn than to go inside and like actually heal. And that's what we're all here to do, right? Like, who here thinks that it's like, it's harder, but it's worth it? Like,
absolutely.
Do we get
absolutely.
Coach D?
Coach,
I can't see your hand.
Yeah, you can't see my hand. I had to unmute. I'm still getting used to them. I mean, yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. Coach, help us understand this more, because me and you clearly run a men's group. We talk to men every single week, right? And a lot of our work is, yes, we're training them on social skills, we're training them on masculine game, but every week we're also talking about ourselves, our issues, our trauma, our wounds. So when it comes to like love and feeling more secure, right? Right now, you're leading a men's group. We're committed. We're learning to embody. A lot of what you're teaching in terms of helping men find love is understanding they're enough, understanding that they don't need to perform, that they don't actually need to learn necessarily the magic line. And perhaps that's not even a way to look at it at all. But you talk a lot, Coach, about build your core, right? That's one of the big premises behind CMU. Like, build your core. And often the coaching cue you give to people is, you'll find your wife. So help us understand this from your perspective. Why is it that we need to think about building our core if we're going to find secure, attached love?
Okay, so I would get a lot of clients like, if you're coming with your money, your status, your looks, you're putting tangible value, which is transactional. Okay, what if you lose the job? What if you lose the status? What if you don't take her on vacations? Eventually she's going to be like, well, I didn't really like him internally for who he is as a man. And eventually she'll get bored because you didn't give internal value, which is the most important value as a man. That this is not transactional. This is not tangible. It stays with you till you fucking die, which is your core masculinity, which is what I teach and rant every single day in the group to the men out there. Once you build your core, you'll be able to navigate through life, because a lot of guys tell me like, yo, Coach D, you have a big repertoire of your resume. You were crazy back in the day. Like, why? They always tell me, why'd you settle down? I don't get it. You could have all this power. You can get all these hotties anytime you want. Why? And I'm like, dude, Father Time's going to catch up to you. And eventually I want to build something. I want to leave a legacy behind. And I don't have ego. That's just you trying to get validation among others. The true meaning of life, having something beautiful, is to create a family or to have something meaningful with somebody, to create something. That is when you win at life. And, I tell people that come from all different types of perspective and mindsets, whether you are suppressing your emotion, whether you have hatred, resentment, whether you're trying to win them over with your money, status, or looks, everything will fall apart. Sooner or later, your facade, your mask will come on to catch you. And this is why guys come to me, because their whole facade that they were playing broke apart and she caught onto it and she left him. At the end of the day, your core does not leave you. Your core does not die. It stays with you for the rest of your life, as a leader, as a lover, as a protector, as a guider, as a facilitator, as someone to grow, as a man. This is why I tell men, build from within to live. Build on the outside. Eventually that castle's going to break apart, my friend.
Yeah.
I
agree with that.
Can I add one sentence? So Coach D has a wife and is building a family, which is something that is very important to him and his wife and very beautiful to both of them. And he has had people say, why did you settle down? can we call it what it is for him, settling up?
Oh, thank you.
Sorry.
Nice.
I never thought of it that way because I have so much like blind spots in my head. You see, that's my ego, that's my past, that's my pain. It's it's hard to see it in I see everything sometimes positive, but sometimes I'm blinded by my own self too. So thank you for that.
So we're talking about secure love, and we're talking about how we can actually find those deeper connections. Ralph, you'll sometimes talk about the comparison trap. And you talked early on in this episode about how the social media world and the optionalities and choice and these sorts of things just make us more disconnected and make it more difficult for people to really start to work on finding those deeper bonds. Now, I wonder if there's also an element of comparison going on here when it comes to men finding it difficult to start to be vulnerable enough to build those deeper relationships. A specific example I want to kind of like unwind here. You're a successful guy, right? Done an amazing thing, live an outlier life. Yeah, no question, right? So guys who are looking at you, right? And all the people coming through, sending you messages every day. Well, Ralph, I don't have the kind of body you've got. Ralph, I don't have the kind of business success you've got. I don't drive around in Lamborghinis. Do you think, sincere question, just want to get your perspective. Do you think when guys have got this image in their head that they need to be this elite tier guy, do you think that might be impacting them in terms of securely attaching to a woman?
Of course.
What do you think about that?
Of course. I want to start off by saying that vulnerability is actually a strength, but in society is deemed a weakness amongst men. So again, I read all the comments on my YouTube. I may not respond to all of them because I've got a bloody business to run and investments to look for, so I can't respond to everyone. But most of the comments will say stuff like, and Amanda mentioned double texting, and I remember I did a YouTube video about double texting, and every single comment was, just leave it, bro. She's not interested.
Exactly.
Or, why would you ever text her again? Just move on. Every single comment was that. And I sat there and I said to myself, you know what? I've really come a long way actually in my journey. Because many years ago, big ego, macho Ralph would be like, she's obviously read the message, bro. Like, okay, just leave it. She's not interested, on to the next one. Now, when I like someone, I will double text. Now, there are certain techniques and there are things that you could say, and my second text has become a lot more refined. It isn't, hey, where are you? Obviously, it's not as bad as that. But I will double text because I'm like, I just need to drop my shit and my pride because I like this person. So I'm going to take my heart here and just lay it on the table. Mm-hmm. And I'm leaving it right here. It's all yours. What are you going to do with it? Oh, you don't want it? Okay, I'll just take it back and then just move back on again. So I think vulnerability is a strength that I saw as a weakness for so long. And within society, it's deemed a weakness because your boys that you sit around and you shoot the shit with in a group chat on WhatsApp, no one's ever going to be like, yeah, man, just tell her how you feel. Everyone's going to be like, oh, bro, move on. Amongst men, it's not cool to be sensitive. It's deemed a weakness. And just to answer your question about, do I think men feel like they need all these resources? Yes, social media is polluting their minds. Like, look who is promoted on social media. Are you seeing this Wes Watson guy on social media? I want to fly to Miami and slap this guy, right? It's like, how are these types of people being promoted? Whereby he's got a Bugatti with the number plate convict. That is an influencer. That's who we're looking up to. You need a Bugatti and a tattoo on your head and massive muscles to get the girl.
Oh, great.
And Ravi, you said this once. Once I get to this point, then I'll be worthy of finding the woman. And then I made a joke to you and said, once I get a nose job, I'll be worthy of finding the true love that I'm looking for. So I trolled you with that by saying, don't wait for the day that you have the resources or the car or the apartment. You are already whole. You might not be, okay, look, If it's an extreme situation where you're completely broken, you have nothing, and you're homeless, yes, that's a very difficult scenario. Don't go hitting on women. But if, like most of us, you have a stable life, stable emotions, start today. Don't wait till you have something. Once I get this car, once I make 10K a month, once I have a six pack. Because I tell you what, once you get the six pack in the car, you're going to be extremely disappointed with your results at that point, because you'll be like, I thought all I needed was this Ferrari and this beautiful watch that I'm wearing. I thought once I had that, I'd find love. What an anticlimax it is when you actually have those materials. You realize, oh wait, I kind of needed to work on what Coach D was talking about, my character and my deep inner game. Yeah, once I get that right, then I'll actually be worthy. So again, society is pushing the wrong things down our throat. The cars, the watches, have all this. Look at this beautiful villa. Brother, what you have now is enough. If you love yourself and you're stable emotionally, just walk up to the next beautiful person you see and just compliment them and just be nice. Don't worry about picking them up. Just walk into a coffee shop. Do you know what? Just be like, excuse me, darling, I love your dress today. You literally look amazing. Don't worry about picking her up. Just spread positivity out there and don't wait till you have these ridiculous materials. Coach D really pressed on this idea of, sorry, I don't mean to keep carrying on here and taking up all the time, but he talked about deep inner game being the key. Yeah. I mean, I read the game when I was 21, and I still come up with these lines from back in the day, and I just realized, like, this is just an outside persona that I'm playing. The game is very different to deep inner game. Am I actually confident? Am I actually happy? Do I actually have things that I love about myself? Am I vulnerable enough to open myself up? At that point, that version of me always has the deepest connection with people. And the outside game version of me gets laid and has a lot of fun, that ends up feeling very empty.
Yeah. Powerful share, Ralph. And let's listen to a female perspective on this same kind of problem now. Amanda, I'd be curious to learn from your perspective, what do you think it is that stops women from entering into secure, healthy relationships?
I think that kind of going for both ways. You have to be secure and healthy within yourself to really want that reflected on the outside of you, if that makes any sense. And to kind of go off that one point, I do think that to feel safe around the opposite gender is very important for both parties. So it's important for women to feel, and I'm talking about emotional safety as well. It's important for women to feel emotionally safe around their partner, and it's also important for men to feel emotionally safe around women as well. And where a lot of that fear comes in, or that lack of safety around women, can be due to past experiences where maybe a vulnerable side, or maybe something was shown and it wasn't accepted. So then you kind of like build that armor around the heart. But yes, absolutely. I think that vulnerability goes such a long way. And I think that we forget that it's actually a strength, because the connotation around it is that it's not. And real quickly, to Ralph's earlier point, I also love the quote that's like, some people are so broke, all they have is money. I just think that it's an awesome way to put that, because yeah, that's usually the case, but sometimes, yeah.
This is interesting, and I want to dive one step deeper, and we can all talk about this, because I think it's a sincerely great point about it's like feeling safe, right? So me and Dee do this work with men, and it is about nervous system regulation, like feeling safe and grounded, restoring a relational ability, restoring the ability to like healthily, emotionally connect with other people. I like this concept of us thinking about how we can feel safer in the presence of the opposite sex, the other gender. And I want to ask one further question to you, Amanda, and anyone else who wants to chime in on this subject. I'd be very interested in hearing. What do you think men are doing that is meaning that they're not able to like safely hold space with women?
It's not so much about what men are doing versus what men aren't doing. It, to me, at least, when you can't feel emotionally safe around women, that's usually due to a past pain or a past trauma that gets embedded very, very deep into your psyche. And then it kind of ruins the perception of how you view yourself, which is where a lot of body dysmorphia and this type of thing can come in as well, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense, Amanda, because yours truly thought he was the most ugly, hideous beast ever and has dated professional models. So ain't that crazy how that works?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's a wild world, man. It's crazy. It's all in here. It really is. And if we are going to move beyond this, there just needs to be these kinds of conversations and speaking to these people, which I know you do a great job of, Amanda. Andy does a great job of this. We're all doing our best. And I want us to shift into, to kind of wrap us up, perhaps messages to our previously wounded selves or our past selves, or things that we might want to say to the version of us who was more hurt. This is going to be interesting for me to hear everyone's, but I'm going to put this to the whole panel. If you could go back and speak to the wounded boy, or in Amanda's case, girl, who previously existed, previous version of you, what would you say? Anyone want to go first? Otherwise, I'm going to go around in the order they appear on the screen. So, okay. No volunteers. I'm going to pick on people.
Call out Ravi. Let's go, boy.
No way. The incel final boss has to go first? All right.
The final boss becomes the king.
All right. Here's the thing. Yeah. So, if I'm to go back to that version of Ravi, good Lord. So much chaos could have been avoided if I would have just told him, dude, people are nice. Life is abundant. You don't have to suffer. You can enjoy life. You can be happy. You're going to have a great life. All of this is going to come together. If I could go back to that person and say, it's not you. There's nothing wrong with you. You've never been broken. You've never been a ugly, hideous beast. Women have never hated you and despised you and think you're a malcreated person who's just somehow there's something wrong with him. Yeah. If I could have told him that, he would have not believed it. He would have argued. He would have told him. He would have been very defensive and said, you don't understand. Every time I approach a woman, it goes nowhere. Every time I've tried, nothing happened. Every time I've tried to set up a dating profile, I've never gotten a match. And that was literally true. But this version of Ravi knows about self-sabotage and knows about the infinitude of tricks the mind will play on the distorted, wounded version of ourselves who is not yet ready to trust himself, to trust other people, to trust reality, and has an inner child that is so wounded and so in pain that he's not ready to stop kicking and screaming because he needs to be heard. He needs patience. He needs compassion. And his needs are so severe and they've never been, ever been attested to, ever been listened to. If I could go back to him, I'd tell him it's valid. It's entirely valid. You've got every right in the world to feel this way. And it's okay, and you're okay. And the biggest point, the point that he needs to hear above everything else is it's not the women, but it's him. and it's his wound. That's all I've got for him. Coach, now you have to do the damn same.
Oh wow, I learned how to unmute the mic. No, I'm just fucking around. Okay, fuck. You see what I'm saying? Like, the minute you tell me to do some shit like this, automatically
I know, motherfucker, that's why you next.
I freeze up, man. It's like I want to say it, but the words is not coming out. It's like that's what I'm saying. I trained myself to speak, but when it comes to being emotionally vulnerable myself, I shut that shit down right away.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what my head case ass can say to myself. Okay. Give me a minute. Because I really lock myself up to not do this. Okay, if I was to tell myself, let me just close my eyes and envision spirituality, I'm gonna call him Little D, because I'm Big D now. All right, Little D, listen up, keep your head up, and just understand that there are bad people out in this world, but that doesn't mean for you to hate the entire world. That doesn't mean for you to blame everyone. There are good people and there are bad people in everyone and in everything. And do understand you're worthy of love. You did so much. You're helping take care of your family. You find a partner. You came from everything. You were homeless. You were a porn addict. You've been abused. You lived in a shelter. You went through it all. But do know that there's a light at the, oh my God. See, I'm literally fighting not to say this because it's making me emotional. But do know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and you have strength within yourself to become a strong man. And you're doing good to this world, to letting you know that you are worthy of love and appreciation. And there's other people out there with wounds and scars just like you. And that doesn't make you any less. By you surviving your past wounds and your traumas, you became a strong man, and you're out there healing this damaged world. So understand, Lil D, that I love and respect you, and together we can make a change for the better.
That's beautiful.
That was fucking hard, man.
I'm really grateful that you did that, because in the many years that we've really struggled to have real conversations with each other, we both had a hard time with it. Yeah, and we're going to get there. And all the men on our program are going to get there. And that's how we're going to solve this shit. So thank you. Yeah. Andy, what you got for us?
Can we pause for a second and just let that breathe, brother? Like what D just did, man. Like, let's sit with that. I don't want to just rush this. That was amazing, D. Like, thank you. Like, what you just did there, you probably don't realize this, but there are a lot of people out there that really struggle to do what you just did and would find it impossible. And the fact that you pushed through that and just did it anyway, man, even though it was hard, and you were honest and vulnerable enough to break the fourth wall with us and literally say, I'm struggling to do this. That is what I call autistic honesty. Like, that's the kind of beautiful stuff where the conversation really opens up. And this is what I say to all my coaching clients. It's like, if you're struggling with something, just say, I'm struggling with this. If you can't talk to a woman because you're nervous, say, I'm really nervous and I can't talk to you right now. If you have some trauma and you're like, oh, I don't want them to find out, say, I have some trauma and I don't want you to find out. And so, D, thank you for that. So genuinely. I almost don't want to read mine out now because you've just done yours and yours was so beautiful, but let's do it, man. If you got something to say, D, go for it, dude.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. I almost shed a tear. You can actually hear it in my voice because, like, my entire life, I buried that side of me. I literally, like, fucking buried it. So, but, thank you guys for giving me a chance to be understood and listen and to help others on our journey to love and heal. I appreciate you all, and I wish you guys the best as well on your journey.
You're on the journey all the way, maybe, brother. I love you to death. I'll be with you the whole way. And we're going to get there.
Oh, yeah. I want to read mine, or I want to do mine in two parts. An exercise that I give to a lot of my coaching clients, it's kind of like part of the coaching program, is what I call a letter to yourself. And so you will write a letter to yourself and say all the things that you're wanting other people to say to you. Often we have resentment of like, why will no one love me? Why will no one do this? And it's like, motherfucker, if no one's loving you, why don't you do it? You're going to go out there and expect women to love you if you don't do it first. That would be hypocrisy. And so I fall victim to this too. I want people to love me. I want people to tell me I'm a good coach, that I'm empathetic, that I'm compassionate, that I'm a good friend, a good person, and all of that. And so I did my own exercise. And I guess I'll just read it out. So this is one I did recently. This is maybe a year ago. And this is when I was going through some struggles with the business. And I said, hey, Andy, you say this to everyone else and you've been wishing someone would say it to you. So what if you just say this to yourself? You have been doing a good job, a great job. No, fuck that, an insane job. If anyone else had done even 10% of what you've done over the last 8 or 9 years of self-improvement, you would be telling them that they're an amazing, inspiring, wonderful, courageous, insane human being. You would be telling all your friends about them, you'd be shouting their name from the rooftops, and you'd be thinking about them every day. You would write them 20 emails and leave 100 fucking messages and tell them how inspired by them you are, how much you respect them, how they're doing an insanely good job, how you hope to do even 1/10 of the things that they've done. And yet you've never really said that to yourself. You've never really said, you're doing great, kiddo. You've waited for someone else to say it to you, and plenty of people even have, but you've never really let their praise or their love hit you. You've never welcomed it. You've never embraced it. You've never let it settle on your soul. And so maybe now is the time. You've done a good job, Andy, an insane job. You've done 1,000,000 times more than you ever could have dreamed was possible, and you've only just begun. You really have only just gotten started. You have your entire life ahead of you to help more people, to change more lives, to make more people feel more loved and welcomed and appreciated. Everything you have done up until this point has been enough. Even if you did nothing else for the rest of your entire life, that would be an incredible life. You have done enough. You are enough. You can rest a bit. You're allowed to. Go on, I insist. Take a little bit of time to chill and just waste some time doing nothing. You've earned it. Take some time to yourself and realize that everything you do now from this point onwards is a bonus. Everything from now until the day you die is extra stuff you didn't need to do, but you did because you wanted to. You've done a good job. You've proven everything you wanted to prove. There's nothing left to prove and nothing left you have to do. Just be okay with what you've done. And if you want to do more, hey, that's great. If you don't want to do any more, that's great too. No pressure. Keep it up, kiddo. You're doing great. Love, you.
Yes, mic drop. The powerful Andy Wells. Beautiful.
That was hard to do, D. That was fucking hard to do, brother. That was hard, man.
The Breakthrough Collective, ladies and gentlemen. I told you it's happening. Didn't I tell you, Andy? We're going to make this happen. Right? That's the energy. Next, Ralph Anthony. What you got for us?
Mine would be, I spent so long chasing getting laid, and I'm not proud of the fact that I've slept with over 250 women. And for most of the time growing up, I'm not sure what I was really chasing. I mean, I'd say to that young guy, I'd say, brother, slow down, find your purpose, build something that actually matters for this world. Getting laid is not an achievement. It doesn't make you feel any better. It doesn't make you any better of a man. What is it that you're actually chasing? You don't need this. You want this. It's instant gratification. Chase more meaning. Seek delayed gratification. Build a purpose. Build something that you actually care about. And everything that's empty inside of you will fill itself. That's what I would say.
Powerful. And I appreciate that. Amanda, what about you?
Well, I just first wanted to say thank you to everybody who's sharing this on the panel. This is such a powerful question, like talking to your younger self. And it is so emotional, and but it's such a great question. And with the work that all of you guys are doing, you're bringing a sense of community to a demographic that needs it the most. So I really commend you guys for all of that. And then as well, you're helping men, and you're helping men heal, but in that light, you're indirectly helping women as well, if that makes any sense. But yeah, so I guess I would just say to my my past younger self that was in pain. Just the simple, you're not crazy. My personal inner turmoil dealt with a lot of second guessing and a lot of not holding space or validating any of my emotions. Like, you shouldn't be feeling this way, you got a roof over your head, this type of thing, like this, that, and the third. And that particularly, I would override my intuition. I would discount that in order to help, suppress these emotions. So I would just go back and say, you're not crazy, and the pain that you're feeling is completely called for, if that makes any sense. But yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of people can relate to that. It's powerful. Thank you for sharing, Amanda. Last but not least, Taylor over there in... Where are you again, Taylor?
Alaska.
That's
my
the
internet
one.
keeps dropping out because I'm on a whole separate continent.
I remember, Taylor.
Thanks for sharing, Amanda. Yeah, I'm gonna do it kind of similar to Coach D. I'm feeling some pressure to make this polished and succinct, since all of yours were. So I'm just gonna go inside and talk to myself when I was about 26, 27, I'm 32 now. So when I was about 26 was kind of the peak for me of when I was feeling very separate from women and had a lot of insecurity and resentment and jealousy there. So I'm going to talk to myself as a 32-year-old, talk to myself when I was 26. Okay, Taylor, so you're feeling very separate from women and you're feeling a lot of jealousy, or at least what you're calling jealousy. And you're struggling with a lot of things right now. And you're hurting a little bit. And I want you to know that all these struggles, they're okay. Like, they're here for you to learn. And you will learn things through this. And some of the things you'll learn are going to include that, like, you're lovely, man. You're lovely inside. And the women and the other people in your life, they're lovely too. And they want you in their life because they love you. And the more you allow yourself to come through, the happier they're going to be and the happier you're going to be, because that's what this is. Like, they want to connect with you. And they're looking to you for that connection, and you're looking to them for that connection. And there's some stuff getting in the way. And you know it already on a deep level. You may not know it intellectually, but you know that every time you're not honest with someone and you try to manipulate or use a technique or something, that's bringing you farther apart from them. And you may not be able to understand that, but you can feel it. And every time you're honest with someone and you're real with them and you see the humanity in them, you can feel that it brings you closer to them. It's not really that complicated. Just let that stuff, that beautiful stuff, come out of you and see the beauty in other people and connect with them the way that you already know how. And this is all going to work out. That's what I have. And if anyone likes this style of talking to your former self, like if this is resonating with someone in the audience, there is a thing called IFS, which is basically someone else helps you. Yeah, I'm getting the thumbs up from Amanda.
Amanda
Basically,
just had an
you can do
orgasm
this
when you said that, and so did I. We fucking
Yeah.
love IFS.
We love it, buddy. We're there with you.
It's not always easy work, but it's powerful work, because these things, they are sort of running the show in the background. So connecting with them is powerful.
Yes. And you sharing was powerful, Taylor. And I appreciate it. And I appreciate everyone who shared, everyone who spoke their truth, everyone who came here today for the inaugural episode of the Breakthrough Collective and spoke their truth. Because this is what we need to bridge the gap. And we're going to wrap up, and I'm going to thank everyone for their time today, and love and gratitude for every single one of you. And for those who are watching, If this hit your soul, then don't just listen. Follow the movement and let's build love. An authentic, real, secure love and bonds. As Andy would say, love and surrender. That's our mission, and that's what we're here to do.